Hawks rescue 16 girls from months of drug and sex abuse during a raid in Kempton Park. The NPA is said to appeal the recent judgment in the spy tapes matter. It's Friday. Hello and welcome to it. You're watching eNews Direct. I'm Tutuzile Ramela.
And I'm Sandy Ragangose. Good evening.
To comment on any of our stories, you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct.
And tonight our hashtags are spy tapes and Concord.
We start with the 16 South African girls drugged and used as sex slaves for up to 9 months have been rescued. Police discovered them in a house in Kempton Park, Johannesburg today. The girls were found during a Hawks and SABC operation targeting drug lords and traffickers.
Rescued after weeks of suffering, these 16 girls have endured sexual abuse at the hands of hundreds of men, the youngest just 15 years old. Some were kidnapped and others lured with the promise of jobs.
The 15-year-old girl was saying to me he was brought here by the Nigerians 2 weeks back. They promised her that they're going to give her a job. That's how she ended in here. She even said, I don't know the place. I don't know. I'm just here. I'm caught up here.
The girls have told officers harrowing stories of their capture and abuse. They say they were drugged and starved. They sat outside crying as authorities swept through the 3-bedroom house collecting evidence.
These girls are coming around the country. As I said, that some, they are coming from Soweto. And they are so small. And their parents, they don't know that their girls are here. And when they are here, they are being used.
Police seized drugs and arrested 4 men. But it was the rescue of these girls that's left officers shaken. Linyaruselo, Kempton Park.
What a horrifying ordeal. The spy tape saga is far from over. The National Prosecuting Authority is now approaching the Constitutional Court directly to appeal an earlier ruling. It follows a statement by President Jacob Zuma, who says he's still mulling over the recent judgment on the controversial issue. In April, the High Court ruled the NPA had been irrational when it withdrew charges against Zuma for his role in the arms deal. Last month, the same court dismissed the president and the NPA's application for leave to appeal. The prosecuting authority now says the matter raises constitutional issues, particularly on the separation of powers. 7 coloured correctional services employees have won their affirmative action case in the Constitutional Court. They first took the department to court 4 years ago over the implementation of its affirmative action policy. They had been overlooked for promotion because of the department's affirmative action policy, despite being recommended for the posts. The court ruled that they may be promoted and awarded back pay.
Respectively sought to be appointed constituted unfair discrimination and unfair labor practices and are set aside.
The Constitutional Court has found in favour of 7 of the 10 applicants. The employees were discriminated against because the Western Cape's racial demographic was not taken into consideration when appointments were made. National figures were used instead. The applicants were denied promotion based on the Correctional Services Department's employment plan for the 2010 to 2014 period. Citing the national racial demographic, the government said there were too many coloured people in the department. The court has now found that decision was discriminatory.
I'm overjoyed. I'm out of this world. It is really a great feeling. Today, justice has prevailed.
Solidarity says the ruling will have far-reaching implications.
We've argued throughout this matter that in affirmative action plans you cannot only take the national demographics into account, you must take the regional demographics also into account. And the court has confirmed that today. It has clearly stated that each and every affirmative action plan must take into account regional demographics.
The 7 employees will receive back pay from 2010 for the positions they should have been appointed to. Carla Kutsia, Johannesburg.
Drug and alcohol abuse are compounding the spread of HIV in some rural parts of KwaZulu-Natal. In Vulindlela, at least 2 out of 3 women under the age of 30 are at risk, but there seems to be hope.
Vulindlela residents have seen the rollout of basic services over the years. But here, It's the social ills that need the most attention.
In the tavern, people go out and have sex. You know, a woman and a man goes out, they are going to have sex. When the two men comes back, you still want her. You're not going to say, because I saw her go out. They said personally, we still take the two men out.
Sexual relationships like these are accelerating the rate of HIV infections. In fact, about 2 out of 3 women are affected.
Ngibona ukuthi abantu besifazane abatheleleka kakhulu nge-HIV ngoba abanawo amandla ukuthi kusetshenziswe ivikelo like ama-condom kanje. Isikhathi esiningi kuba umuntu wesilisa okwazi ukuthi decide ukuthi i-condom they must use it or not.
Some residents say drug and alcohol abuse is to blame.
If there are drugs for themselves, like taking the pills or the cocaine, they don't even think about the condoms.
Just over a decade ago, the Center for the AIDS Program of Research in South Africa set up shop here. Through its work with community leaders, the stigma around HIV is disappearing. And Caprisa says it's making progress in fighting new infections.
We've got the first 70 or 80 women, young women, on oral pre-exposure prophylaxis. This is where women would take a tablet every day to protect themselves against getting HIV.
Abdul Karim will be discussing Caprisa's work during the International AIDS Conference in Durban next week. Desan Thathia, Durban.
A young Cape Town politician is pushing for change in her local community. At only 24, Nurjan Ali is standing as a ward councillor in the upcoming local government elections.
At the tender age of 9, Nurjan Ali fell in love with politics.
My first actual engagement in politics was when I was 9 years old, and I had been voted into a child's parliament as opposition leader. And it was phenomenal, but completely daunting. I think at that point, that was my step to realizing my own power and my own potential in speaking about issues that matter.
Today, she's a young politician fighting for social justice, education and youth development on the Cape Flats. The area faces numerous challenges such as high crime rates and drug abuse.
I thought it's my responsibility, as someone who's going to be running at a grassroots level for the community to know me. So I have 2 more communities left to do, but I've been going door to door, chatting to the residents, chatting to them about what their issues are.
But Ali is sometimes met with criticism.
Yes, I'm young. But I'm definitely not too young to know what social injustice is, what social development is, what the needs of my community is.
Ali says it's her aim to encourage other young females to enter politics. RT Narsi, Cape Town.
Further afield, France is reeling from yet another terror attack that has left at least 84 people dead, including several children. A 25-ton unmarked truck rammed into thousands of people who were celebrating Bastille Day in Nice.
Amateur footage shows the heavy-duty truck making its way down the road. The driver, believed to be a 31-year-old Tunisian-born delivery driver, accelerates towards the celebrating crowd. Jubilation turns to terror as hundreds flee for their lives. Gunshots ring through the air. Police and the driver exchange gunfire before the driver is killed. Mangled bodies litter the promenade. Many still dressed for the beach.
Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? On a fait pour éclater de prêtre. Un camion est arrivé, il a foncé sur tout le monde. Sur tout le monde. Pas de sécurité. Les pompiers, ils ont mis 25 minutes de lumière à arriver.
Mais c'est un camion qui a foncé.
Qui a foncé. On a fait sur un camion.
Ici, ça s'est passé.
Là,
ça a tiré aussi.
Après, ils ont tiré tout.
Ils ont tiré?
Ah oui, ils ont buté.
French President François Hollande arrives at the scene hours later.
J'ai décidé que l'état d'urgence qui devait prendre fin le 26 juillet serait prolongé de 3 mois. Un projet de loi sera soumis au Parlement d'ici la semaine prochaine. Rien ne nous fera céder dans notre volonté de lutter contre le terrorisme. Et nous allons encore renforcer nos actions en Syrie comme en Irak. Et nous continuerons à frapper ceux qui, justement, nous attaquent sur notre propre sol dans leurs repères.
Forensic experts began examining the aftermath of the attack in the early hours of Friday morning. Officials reportedly recovered weapons and grenades in the vehicle.
8 SABC journalists facing disciplinary action have filed an urgent application for direct access to the Constitutional Court. They wanted to declare the public broadcaster's recent editorial decisions unconstitutional and invalid. The SABC decided not to air visuals of people damaging property during protests. The journalists argue the policy does not allow them to fulfill their constitutional duty to fairly report the news. The 8 face internal action for taking a stand against censorship. We end with this. Children from across Gauteng came out to celebrate the late Nelson Mandela ahead of the struggle icon's birthday. Every year, the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund organizes these events. This year's theme is Madiba through the eyes of a child. Now, Madiba loved children and was a fierce fighter for their rights. We do love to hear from you. You can check us out on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct, or you can head on over to our website. That's enca.com/direct. After the break, your business news as well as your weekend weather forecast. Money Matters. South Africa has landed a much-needed foreign direct investment. A group of Chinese investors have committed 40 billion rand into the country's industrial park. The Trade Ministry says the consortium led by Hong Kong Mining Exchange will invest in power, pig iron and steel plants, among some commodities. Now, these projects will be implemented over a 5-year period in Limpopo and create around 21,000 jobs. Minerals such as chrome, manganese, coking oil, coal and lime will be extracted and beneficiated in the park. And with that, let's see how the markets performed today. Let's check in with the Weather Center. Here's Candace.
It's been a wintry end to the work week for the Western Cape, with a cold front bringing in cloudy and wet weather as well as cooler conditions. That front will head over the eastern part of the country on Saturday, bringing in mostly cloudy conditions and light rain for the Eastern Cape, but with things starting to clear out from the west in the second part of the day. Rainfall also spreads through to KwaZulu-Natal with a cooler day over the southeastern and eastern parts. Fine and mild weather continues over the northeastern interior, with a mostly sunny day over the western half of South Africa. Cooler weather is forecast for KwaZulu-Natal on Saturday, with highs in the teens over the interior. We're forecasting rain mainly along the coast and over the southern part of the province. Mostly cloudy with light rain throughout the Eastern Cape, with a cold day over the interior. Most maximum temperatures will peak in the lower teens over the interior. Cold weather is also forecast for the Western Cape, although much of that rainfall is cleared out, other than some morning rain for Plettenberg Bay and a high of 13 degrees. You'll see some cloud over the Northern Cape with a colder day over the southwestern parts, -4 24 and 9 degrees for Sutherland. A bit of cloud is forecast for the Free State, 18 for Fourie, Smith and Welkom, and Bethlehem with a maximum of 17 degrees. Fine and dry weather continues for the northwest. Very little change in the weather over this part of South Africa at the moment. You'll see a sunny day throughout Limpopo on Saturday with mild to warm maximum temperatures, with those highs between 22 and 27 degrees. Fine and warm for Bombela at 25, 16 for Ermelo, and Secunda expecting a maximum of 17 degrees. Fine and dry as we head towards Gauteng with a maximum temperature of around 20 for Johannesburg and Pretoria. A slightly cooler day for Soweto and Vereeniging, both at 18. On Sunday, we're expecting rainfall mainly for KwaZulu-Natal and cooler weather over the northeastern parts. On Monday, dry weather is forecast across South Africa, but with some cloud expected for Cape Town, and we're forecasting warm weather over the southern and southeastern parts. That's all from the Weather Centre for now. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, Candice. Our very own Ndebele artist makes her mark overseas yet again. Welcome back. One of South Africa's most beloved artists is making international waves yet again.
Another achievement. Esther Mahlangu, famous for her Ndebele paintings, has been chosen for a major collaboration that will see millions of sick people benefit.
It's become a trend the world over, whether in fashion or on these walls. But it was one woman who decades ago was at the forefront of translating the ever-popular Ndebele print onto canvas.
Born into the Ndebele tribe back in 1935 in a village in rural South Africa, 80-year-old Esther Mahlangu found a passion for art at the tender age of 10.
When she was young, at 10, it's by the granny and her mom doing this work, trying just to be part of what they are doing.
She fast became known for bold and bright large-scale paintings that reflect her Ndebele heritage. And that quickly catapulted the humble Gogo straight to international stardom. In 1991, she was commissioned by BMW to create an art car, putting her on the map as the first non-Western person to join big names in the art world, including the likes of Andy Warhol. She now runs her own art school, encouraging young and old to continue her legacy.
They must just keep the heritage, the culture. They must also take her design and develop more.
Her latest feat has seen her jetting off to Los Angeles for her next collaboration. She's joining forces with a well-known international musician, but it's all being kept secret for now. This joint venture will help millions of people across the continent.
She feels very great when she's here that they are going to fight against her contribution, because people, they are no longer going to suffer because the medication is almost there after this work.
More on the acclaimed South African artist's new venture will be revealed at the end of August. Tanya Neft, Mpumalanga.
A reminder of the day's top stories before we say goodbye. The Hawks rescue 16 girls from months of drug and sex abuse during a raid in Kempton Park. The NPA said to appeal the recent judgment in the spy tapes matter. And that's our lot for the week.
It is indeed. Up next, Boom City.
We do love to hear from you. You can send us an email to enewsdirect@etv.co.za.
And if you missed any of our stories tonight, you can always watch again on enca.com/enewsdirect.
And our weekend news bulletin comes live from Cape Town at 7 p.m. Until Monday night, have a fantastic weekend. Bye-bye.